Welcome everyone. I'll be playing more Pauper today, and I will start with All in Red, which, unlike all the other formats, All in Red does not mean a Blood Moon deck, because there's no Blood Moon in Pauper, and everyone is playing basic lands, of course. But it is still very all in, so I'll show you the deck list. As we can see, the mana curve is not very diverse. We're basically running all 1 and 2 drops. And these are practically 1 drops as well. So it's about as aggressive of a deck as you can build in Pauper. And I have no idea whether we will fail spectacularly or win spectacularly with this. But yeah, all the games will be decided quickly. I was a little bit tired of constantly being under timeout pressure, so I decided to fire off the stream today with something quick. And yeah, all the creatures benefit from being targeted. We have some heroic 1-drops and some prowess 2-drops here, and Kiln Fiend is like an honorary prowess creature. Gets 3 power for every spell that we cast. And then Immolating Soul Eater allows us to throw our life total away to turn this into a 9-power creature. Or I guess a 10-power creature. If we still have all the 20 life available, we will pay 18, go to 2, make it a 10-power creature, and then Temur Battle Rage can give double strike to it and lead to some turn 3 wins. And there's theoretically even some turn 2 wins available, I think. I would have to draw multiple mutagenic growth, I guess, but yeah, we're aiming towards turn 3 wins undisrupted, and then we can still put a lot of pressure onto our opponent if we get disrupted in any way. And then the rest of the deck is basically pump spells. We have a Giant Growth in Brute Force, color shifted Giant Growth, an enchantment that gives haste and oh wait, this one doesn't give haste. It only gives +2/+2. So it's like a pump spell that sticks around, and we want to be attacking every turn anyways, so the downside is not that relevant to us. This one gives haste. It allows our creatures to get in faster, and also we can potentially play around sorcery speed removal by keeping a creature in our hand, then putting it onto the board and immediately attacking with it to surprise our opponent. Mutagenic Growth is a free pump spell. Apostle's Blessing is a protection spell for 1 mana. No ability for us to ever create white, but it protects some of our creatures from removal. And then Temur Battle Rage is of course the centerpiece of the deck, allowing our creatures to get double their damage in and synergize as well with all the pump spells. So let's hope we run over some opponents and kill some people on turn 3. But yeah, no matter how our games go, whether it goes good or bad for us, basically it's going to be decided in the first few turns. And well, this doesn't have a 1-drop, but it already has the potential to just kill on turn 3, I guess. This gets 7, 9 power, so we would have to draw a 3rd land to kill on turn 3 with Kiln Fiend, but yeah, seems worth trying out when I'm on the play. If I was on the draw, I would value having a 1-drop much higher. But yeah, Temur Battle Rage, Kiln Fiend, and a 0 mana pump spell already is a ton of damage potential. And then if we have the ability to cast Brute Force in the same turn, it gets upgraded into a kill. Okay, looks like we're facing Affinity, which should be low on interaction. Basically, they just have 4 Galvanic Blast that can try and disrupt me. And since that's the case, and Galvanic Blasting on turn 2, with them not having a red source on the board yet, is pretty awkward for my opponent. I just run out the most threatening threat first that allows me to win if I draw any land, and get a ton of damage in even if I don't draw the land. In a matchup where I expect more removal, I might lead on Mage Ring Bully or something to draw out the removal spell, and then have this Kiln Fiend stick around for the kill afterwards. But here I want to close out the game before my opponent has time to develop their artifact count, maybe draw into answer with Thoughtcast. Seems good to put pressure on them here. And looks like we win. Well, first match of the deck already going as advertised. With the turn 2 play a threatening creature, turn 3 we win. And yeah, no reason to really slow roll this at all, because we end up with enough power regardless of whether my opponent blocks or not. Yeah, this is 24 damage, and if they block it's 22 damage, so... No, wait. Oh no, it's 30 damage, and if they block it's 28. Well, that was an impressive showing for the first game. Gorilla Shaman and Smelt seem like great things to have in the deck. And then I'm uncertain what number of Pyroblast I would want to have access to. Flame Slash could be good as well to get all their 4/4 blockers out of the way and allow us to play slightly more, well, not reactive, but buy ourselves a little bit more time to assemble our combo setup. But yeah, we don't want to be too reactive. And what cards would I be cutting? So I'm certain I'm bringing these 3 in, because if they're in the sideboard, then I assume that's a good enough plan for the matchup. And then these 2 I'm uncertain about. And for now I'll try 0 Pyroblast just to keep the core of the deck intact. So this makes 1/1 tokens. Those are not particularly impressive in the matchup on their own, as my opponent will have many 2/2s and 4/4s, though maybe it's just important enough for my deck to have 1-drops, so that I can get some early chip damage in, and then I don't need to commit as many resources to my combo turn. Even if they have a low amount of removal in their deck, this can also give protection from artifacts, so sometimes it can be used to give unblockability if they don't also have access to a colored creature in addition to their artifacts. So I think I'll try cutting like 2 Mage Ring Bullies. Maybe one of the no, probably the Apostle's Blessings are fine. Though Apostle's Blessing with Temur Battle Rage is actually pretty awkward, because we would be giving protection from red, and then our creature can no longer be targeted by any of our own pump spells. So if they respond to pump spells with Galvanic Blast, that can end up being bad for me. Okay, let's cut like 2 Acrone Crusaders, because they don't seem so great. And maybe we do cut 1 Apostle's Blessing, or a Reckless Charge. Okay, I'll cut 1. I have no idea how to sideboard with this. It's literally my first match playing the deck. And yeah, you get a feeling for which parts of the combo are essential and which aren't once you play the deck a little bit more. But for now, I'm trying to figure it out with you. Okay, my hand is a little bit low on spells, but it does a pretty good job of fighting through opposing disruption. So I'll try keeping this, and hopefully we draw into something to make these creatures into real threats. Or hopefully my opponent's hand is filled with Galvanic Blast that kill my first few creatures, and then the Killing Fiend gets to stick around. I assume the Hoplite is still the better 1-drop to lead on, because I can potentially grow this into a 4/4. Well, that still doesn't get it out of Galvanic Blast range, but the same is true for Acrone Crusader, so this one creates a bit better permanent advantage, I think, because growing a single creature is more beneficial in this matchup rather than having multiple small bodies on the board. And yeah, well, they don't have colored mana yet, but they do as soon as they play their first creature. Though this confirms that they don't have access to Frogmite at the moment. Otherwise they would have ran it out for 1 mana and then used the Springleaf Drum. So it's possible that their mulligan to 6 hand is just Mana Screwed here, and putting them to the test with Killing Fiend could work out for me. Though usually if they had a perfect mana situation I would lead on Mage Ring Bully here, so that I can draw out their first answer. It could be a Galvanic Blast or a Pyroblast, and a Hydroblast I mean. But yeah, with their Mana Screw going on, I think I'm willing to go for the higher risk, higher reward play once again. This time I don't have a guaranteed kill yet. This adds 6 damage and this adds 5, so we're at 12 from Killing Fiend. Okay, they found multiple ways of creating blue or red mana in the Chromatic Star and the Great Furnace. Okay. But they are low on cards. Well, now they have no source of colored mana open, so if we find a team of Battle Rage here, we just win once again with the same 30 damage combo that we had the previous game. Interesting. So I guess I'll just start trading my pump spells for their creatures. The question is whether I want to target one of these two with Reckless Charge or get one of my other creatures into the red zone. Can go a Crone Crusader, Reckless Charge, and then I have 4 creatures attacking. They aren't as easy to save. Well, actually that seems like a pretty difficult board for my opponent to deal with. And I still have Brute Force open. I don't like the Mage Ring Bully lines of plays, even though it allows me to get this slightly clunkier card out of my hand, then I deny myself the ability to cast Brute Force. And if they, for example, block my Satyr Hoplite, I'll make it into a 5/5 for this turn, leaving a 2-power creature behind the next turn and eating up their Mirror Enforcer. That seems pretty favorable. Also, could they just end up dying there? If I pump for 5... Yeah, this adds 11 damage as I had previously pointed out, because I'm also pumping the Killing Fiend, so 15, 19, 20. Yeah, if they block Hoplite, they would have just died. That's pretty interesting. Pretty amazing. So I can save the Killing Fiend, but then I end up wasting a ton of potential damage. Or I just go all in on their life total here. For example, use these two to give +7 power to the Hoplite, then I get 8, 9, 13 damage in, putting them to 6. Interesting. Well, it seems very difficult for my opponent to deal with this board if I save my creature. So, even though I do want to get a ton of damage in here, saving Killing Fiend just seems very important. And my opponent should have trouble dealing with multiple small bodies on the board. They basically need Krark Clan Shaman to solve the situation, which they might have already played on the previous turn, had they had access to that. Well, that's a good blocker. Unfortunate. But yeah, it seems difficult for my opponent to be in a defensive situation here. If they ever whiff on having multiple spells in the same turn, they just get run over. And also, if I ever find a team on Battle Rage, they just die to my Killing Fiend. That's another reason to keep it alive, because it makes my top decks a lot better. Oh, okay, never mind, they found the perfect answer. Well, any Galvanic Blast would have also killed it, because I can only get it up to a 4 toughness. Well, no, I got kind of punished for... Well, the turn worked out pretty nicely, but This costs 3 to flashback, and I have a 2-power creature, or a 2-mana creature in my hand, so I don't currently have the mana to play my creature and also give it haste. If I had played this on the previous turn and kept the Aggron Crusader in my hand, that would have worked out better for me in hindsight, maybe. Though yeah, I liked the way that I could utilize Brute Force to keep a Killing Fiend on the board. So now I can just decide to flash this back, targeting one of my 2 heroic guys. Get an attack in with everything. Or I play this and just pass the turn or something. Take it a little bit slower and then set up for a 2-spell turn next turn, where I play this and then play the Mutagenic Growth, and like this gets 2 powers triggered, these get multiple heroic triggers. The downside is I let their germ untap, so it's easier for them to interact with me. So target this, get 6 damage in if they block a 1/1, or target it again. They block this, I can make a trade by using Mutagenic Growth, or I can let it die and like make another 1/1. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting situation. Yeah, I think I'll set up for the best possible turn this way, and that also allows me to top deck any 1-mana creature the following turn that goes well with my Reckless Charge. I can draw any of the 1-mana pump spells that goes well with my Reckless Charge, because I can fit 3 spells in a single turn. Well, they have more blockers open now, and my Mage Ring Bully has to attack, so next turn I will have to commit some spells. But yeah, if I draw any castable card here, it should turn out to be great for me. Gorilla Shaman is interesting, because it can help my situation quite well. Though I would prefer to just use it on the Flayer Husk right now, rather than blowing up 3 of their lands. And then get rid of 1 of the lands maybe. Just the red source, so if they want to cast a red card that they top deck, they have to tap 1 of the Enforcers. Seems pretty interesting. No wait, if I use this I cannot blow up any lands, because this costs 3 mana to destroy. Is that still worth it, or get 3 of their lands off of the board? 3 lands, then they still have access to like all the colors and 3 mana, but their affinity count gets lowered, though not significantly. Yeah, it's probably better to cut them off of the colored mana. And then next turn I can maybe spend the turn blowing up Springleaf Drum or something to completely cut them off. Well, my Mage Ring Bully has to attack, and I think the attack with all of the other creatures is pretty useless here. Though they might take this turn to block with Flayer Husk, which they did not. Or turn it into a 5/5, even though there's the risk that it just ends up running into Murn Forcer next turn. Still, I'm trading my Mutagenic Growth for 1 of their 4/4s. That can't be too bad for me. And my Gorilla Shaman still has useful things to do over multiple turns, so even if this ends up dying, my situation on the board isn't too bad. Well, that's also pretty decent. So, Springleaf Drum being blown up now cuts them off of colored mana of any sort. Though I can also Reckless Charge to make my Mage Ring Bully strong enough that the attack into their board is actually favorable. Though then they can just jump block with the germ and not accept this trade, and I have to worry about Mage Ring Bully suicidally attacking again next turn anyways. It's unfortunate that this doesn't pump power, so that, yeah, I cannot spend 3 mana on a Gorilla Shaman activation and then also save my Mage Ring Bully. Well, I can save it, but I can't turn this into a favorable trade. Definitely a lot of depth to this deck, with like a bunch of super cheap cards that you can sequence in very many different ways. So attack there. I just save it, they untap. I think I like cutting them off of colored mana and just letting the Mage Ring Bully die, and then I'll play the slow game a little bit until my Apostle's Blessing turns into some kind of one-turn kill setup. Having to babysit this Mage Ring Bully every turn is just too much of a liability. And I have the board under control right now, with my opponent being cut off of any colored mana production. So playing the long game here a little bit shouldn't be too big of an issue. Basically, I'm only weak to them finding a Prophetic Prism because it's currently too expensive for me to blow that up. I think I'll keep accumulating cards in my hand for a one-turn kill, as I had talked about previously. Maybe wait on this Kiln Fiend until I have a second card to protect it, though right now, with them not having any colored mana, it's already enough protection for me to keep it alive. So yeah, probably time to commit it to the board. Could theoretically give it haste, and then it attacks for 7. So they would likely trade for it. But no, I'll keep sitting around and keep this Apostle's Blessing open, because then I can also make an attack with the Kiln Fiend into their board and trade my Apostle's Blessing for the Mirror Enforcer finally, so that they run out of blockers. Well, there's the Prophetic Prism that I talked about that I wanted to avoid seeing, though now I do have the 5 mana available to destroy it on my turn. Pretty interesting that I get to play the matchup this controllingly once I draw my Gorilla Shaman, and basically play it more like a one-turn kill deck than a beatdown deck. Okay, so they need to make usage of this right away, otherwise this is a terrible idea. But yeah, I get to protect my Gorilla Shaman with the Apostle's Blessing. That was the other upside of not going for some kind of reckless charge Kiln Fiend combination, because now they wasted a Galvanic Blast and their land to try and contest this, and I also get to cut them off of colored mana again, assuming I don't draw something broken to do. Well, we can cast this and then flash it back. How much damage potential do I have there? So this is a 5 power attacker, this is a 4 power attacker, this is a 7 power attacker. So assuming they block here, that 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm 1 damage short. If I target any of these with Reckless Charge and Flashback, they have to block here, trade, and then I'm putting them to 1. That seems very favorable. Though then I'm allowing them to like Crackle and Shaman themselves back into the game. Because I let them keep their red mana. Alternatively, I just blow up the Prophetic Prism and wait for my combo to actually be lethal, which any extra creature or any extra spell would allow me to do. It's pretty interesting. I mean, putting them to 1 has to be pretty strong, but then Electricity or Kraken Shaman is just such a blowout. Though I guess they can't have those if they spend their red mana on a Galvanic Blast instead of a Kraken Shaman. And I can make one of my creatures survive, because this gets more toughness out of it. Well, they would have to sacrifice like their entire board to play around, or like to be able to kill my board with Character and Shaman. And Electricity no longer does it if I grow this. If I target this again, it becomes a 9 power creature, but then they can block here and only take 7, 8, 9, 10 instead of the 12 that I had previously calculated, so better to target this and get like an extra creature that is close to lethal and an extra body on the board with this soldier, because now they have to block here. Yeah, this is 12 damage if they block the Kiln Fiend, so there's no other block available to them. And then they need their card to be a board wipe. Basically needs to be Character and Shaman, and I still have a Reckless Charge in my graveyard, so any creature that I top deck just kills them. Yeah, there we go. That was pretty nice. Game 2 was a lot more difficult to play than Game 1, though I was kinda in control almost the entire time. Just had to figure out what cards I wanted to play around and how much time I wanted to take for myself to finish out the game. Yeah, that was pretty sweet.